Well, good afternoon and thanks for joining us again. It's been a week since I made the last video and I've had a lot of things to process in that time. And I'll come to some of them later, but the thing I wanted to talk about today is how do we end the lockdown? Obviously it's been 3 weeks now since the lockdown started and everyone's thinking about what happens next, how do we get out of this? And how do we control the virus? Assuming it is a virus, and I'll go into that again another time. What do we do to get out of a lockdown? At the moment, we've had our civil liberties removed. We've had businesses closed. We've had withdrawal of healthcare, withdrawal of education, withdrawal of social services and social care. We've had do not resuscitate orders put onto people who are healthy. Or just disabled, or obese, or autistic, for example. So if they were to get ill, then they would be marked as do not resuscitate, do not save them, even though they are viable people and they could survive long term after any infection. But so there are some major problems. The whole of society at the moment is broken down. It's collapsed. Everything that keeps us going normally is being thrown away. We've had 1 million people have to apply for universal credit over the last few weeks. And the figure's going up rapidly as we speak. Because jobs are disappearing. All the people in the hospitality industry have got no job, for example. All the people in the dining and restaurant industry have got no jobs whatsoever. Most people have got no work to go to at the moment. And having no work to go to means that the employers, we're already seeing the massive implosion of our economy as big chain stores are going bankrupt and laying stuff all over the place. And I think that the longer this goes on, the bigger the economic destruction is going to come, and the bigger the social devastation is going to become. We've seen a report the other day said that 3 million people are at risk of starvation in the United Kingdom. They have food shortages, are going without food for 1 or 2 days a week because they have no access to the money or the food itself. And sometimes we're talking about some of society's most vulnerable people here. We're talking about people that are disabled, that are elderly, that are ill, that need lots of support, they might have mental health problems. People that don't have access to the internet, for example, and there's a huge number of particularly elderly people that don't have access to the internet at the moment, and also a high number of low income people and homeless people that have no access to the internet, so they cannot apply for universal credits, they cannot do online shopping, they cannot order an Uber to come and take them somewhere, even if they could. And that number is going to increase all the time. The more people that lose their jobs, the more people are going to have no financial support. And we're being told that for universal credit claimants, there's going to be an extra 20 quid a week available to them. So they'll get 100 quid a week rather than 70 quid a week or 80 quid a week. 100 quid a week you cannot live on. You cannot live on 100 quid a week. It's just not possible. But nevertheless, that has yet to filter through to the system of the claimants. We haven't seen yet extra increases in our tax credit and universal credit payments of existing claimants already. And we know that the DWP has brought in thousands of extra staff to help deal with these extra claims. But anyway, we kind of digress here. So the system is struggling to cope. The supermarket shelves are full-ish, but we can only fit one person every 2 metres down a supermarket aisle. So supermarket shelves are much better than they were in most cases. Depending on the time of day you go, the queues are much better than they were. But it doesn't. None of this really answers the question of how do we get an end of lockdown. We're being locked down because of this virus. And in my opinion, the virus is never going to go away, ever. If it is a virus, and there's some big question marks about that, but that's not for this video. If there is a virus, and we live with thousands of viruses all the time, then how do we get out of this? And one of the things that we have seen several times over the last few days about ending a lockdown is, and it's been said openly that we will not end the lockdown unless there is a vaccination available. We will not end the lockdown unless there's a vaccination available. That is the mantra that's now being repeated over and over again. So what that means is you are being held under house arrest until they can stick some shitty concoction of chemicals into your body that is meant to protect you. Now, to me, this horrifies me. It really scares me. It is the one thing that myself and hundreds of other people I'm aware of, thousands of people pretty much across the country, are petrified about the idea of mandatory vaccination. Not least of which is one of the leading proponents of at the moment producing a vaccine is talking about a subdermal vaccine that will edit your DNA, that's activated electronically afterwards, kind of gene therapy vaccines. And we're hearing about these things that they could also be the way in for microchipping the population of the world. Now, clearly we've got the entire Western world pretty much on lockdown at the moment. There are a few countries slightly looser. But in the United Kingdom particularly, we have everyone is known where they are. Even homeless people have been suddenly rescued off the streets and brought in to fixed locations. Can you imagine how easy it would be to forcibly vaccinate the population now? And under the Coronavirus Act of 2020, there is legislation in place that allows officials of the state to come into your home, and to forcibly remove people for treatment. Just think about that. You can be dragged out of your house and forcibly treated against your wishes. And now this could include vaccination, and I'm being conjectural here, just following this line of processing down the line here to its logical conclusion, is that if we say that we're not going to end the lockdown until vaccination is available, the natural conclusion is that if you do not have the vaccination, then you will not be allowed out of your houses again. You'll not be allowed to go to school, you'll not be able to fly on airplanes, you won't be able to go on buses, you won't be able to go on trains, you won't be allowed in the shops. And then that goes on to what's already been mooted before, is some kind of immunity card or a vaccine card that you'd prove that you are protected and you're protecting the rest of the world from this god-awful disease that everyone's on about. No matter whether this virus is real or this virus isn't real, and whether COVID has been invented or not been invented, whether there are people dying of coronavirus or whether there are people dying of a common cold, there are unexplained deaths going on at the moment. There are restrictions on your freedoms and mobility. There are restrictions on every aspect of your life, and the system is being imploded. So how do we get out of lockdown? Compulsory vaccination is not the answer. It is the one thing that will make the situation a hell of a lot worse than it is now, and that is the entrance to a totalitarian takeover of your bodies, of you personally, of our country, of our liberties and our freedoms. And I plead with every one of you to not go down the route of accepting mandatory vaccinations, or not go down the route of thinking that this is the only way out of this lockdown situation. We have to find a better way that works for the population than vaccination to solve this problem. Please do let me know what you think, what your thoughts are on this. We've got to find solutions, we've got to fight mandatory vaccination, and we are not going down that route without a fight. So stand up, we need to be counted. I want to hear what you've got to say about it. Thanks very much for listening. Bye bye.